So this week we're going to cover wastewater, pretty much stay in the wastewater industry, and just show you what we have, and really just to sum up what we do as a company. If I were to sum it up into four different categories, it would be a rebuild, wrap, coat, or bond. Any sort of material loss, whether it be metal loss from corrosion, concrete loss from concrete deterioration, even fiberglass, plastics, we can rebuild all sorts of materials. We do a lot of composite wraps. That can be for pressurized equipment such as piping, pressure vessels. It can also be in the patch form for tanks or other large equipment. Obviously, one of the big things we do is coatings, whether it be external or internal, to have a corrosion control system. And we do a lot of bonding. So instead of using a welding or welding procedure to patch equipment, or to do a lap, we can bond plates using our adhesives. So to wastewater, what I'm going to start out with is, every wastewater plant and most plants in general, you're going to need pumps. You got to move your fluids from equipment to equipment. For wastewater, they're moving wastewater all through the city. So pumps are very vital. And I just want to cover what we do for pumps. And our main thing we do for pumps is, the goal for our application is just to reduce the life cycle cost. It's that simple. So we are putting on a corrosion resistant barrier for your pumps that puts a protective barrier in between your pump substrate and the fluid. So that's our main application, is going to be coating the inside of pumps to prevent erosion corrosion. We also do some specialty repairs, such as doing general buildup, bearing housing buildups, and it can be kind of an alternative. It can be an alternative to a weld overlay or sending it to a machine shop to get welded in a machine. We have some materials that can be used to build up metal and be machined back down later. But the end goal is just to reduce your life cycle cost, and we do that by reducing your maintenance costs and reducing downtime or a surprise failure and loss of production cost. So going into some, we do the casings, the impellers, very erosion resistant systems that can increase the life cycle of a pump, increase the runtime safely, and allow you to run more effectively for longer periods of times. Some of the more specialty things we do, we get a lot of pumps that have been in service and have taken some wear and erosion over time. As you can see, this pump, water is completely chipped off. The casing is pitted. We can fix chipped edges on cut waters and vanes using our paste grade materials. Sometimes we'll use metallic plates and bond those. Sometimes we'll use a reinforcement mesh. There's different methods depending on the application. And we also fill in the pitting so we can rebuild the profile of the pump and then put on that erosion resistant system to prevent this from happening. So if they had done this in the first place before this pump went into service, they wouldn't be dealing with this issue. The repair work would have been a lot quicker, so they would have saved on the maintenance costs down the line. Same here. So this had been in service for quite a while, dealing with erosion, corrosion. As you can see, the tips of the vanes are just eaten up. And a lot of times people say, oh, I can just replace that. But, especially nowadays, it might be hard to get that replacement impeller. It might take more time, which is more downtime, which is more life cycle cost. So come into us, and we're refurbishing a lot. We've always refurbished over the years, but a lot of new clients or new assets are being sent to us to coat before they go into service to avoid having these issues. Another huge component of a life cycle cost of a pump is going to be your energy usage. So that's going to be one of the major components of a life cycle cost. Now, when a pump's in service, you guys know, erodes and corrodes over time. It's going to lose efficiency, energy usage. It's going to need more energy. It's going to lose performance. So one of our coatings is actually especially made to make the pump more efficient. It's going to do this in two ways. One, you're preventing that erosion, corrosion. You're preventing that surface from becoming pitted and rough, which is going to increase your friction and your turbulence within your pump. And second, it's actually a really smooth coating. So we actually call it super glide. because it has a really smooth surface and it reduces friction within your pump. So it allows the fluid to flow a little easier. So in that case, for an old pump, it's going to decrease your electrical consumption quite a bit. For a new pump, they say about 7 to 9% reduction in electrical consumption. So that's just all we're doing is decreasing the life cycle cost of that pump. Now, one of the other factors of the life cycle cost of a pump is going to be your installation phase. So pouring your foundation, setting your grout, doing all the things you need to do to install your pump. So that's another factor that we can help with. Is we have a lot of solutions that can be, when you're installing a pump, you can use our solutions, which are going to be a little bit more long-term protection for concrete and foundations. Or if you have a foundation that's, being chemically attacked by anything or just degrading over time, we can repair that. So we can provide an alternative to busting out a whole foundation and pouring a new one. We can, rebuild torn concrete, coat it with a protective coating. Also for the metal supports for the pumps, we can coat those and protect them from corrosion over time. If they're already corroded, we can repair them. There's different things we can do to avoid having to do a reinstallation or really heavy work during installation or refurbishing an installation foundation. So moving on from pumps, another big factor in your water treatment is going to be your clarifiers. We have a lot of different solutions for clarifiers. So anything from concrete rebuild to coatings for the metal components within the clarifiers. We have a lot of solutions that clients use all over the world. So this is kind of one of the more common applications. So this is in the trough where they're having some of the effluent just kind of eating up the concrete over time. So we have a product that we can come in on a short notice, no specialist tools, no heavy construction needed. We can come in here, repair all that concrete, coat it, and protect it for the long term. So as you can see here, this application was completed in 3 days, whereas doing some extensive construction might take weeks. Same here, same sort of application. Close up of the concrete, you can see it's just being eaten up. That's what's going to happen to your concrete over time. The chemicals involved, the flow, it's just going to kind of, go down to the aggregate over time. And we can use our rebuild products to rebuild all that concrete and then apply a 2-coat system of a protective liner. One of the other things we do, which comes into play quite a bit, is just general leak sealing. So this leak right here was on a clarifier concrete structure. We do a lot of leaks on pipes, tanks, anywhere where you have a leak, we can come take a look and we might be able to stop that leak without you having to shut down that part of your equipment and have downtime expense. So leak sealing, we have a lot of products that are surface tolerant, so they can be applied to a surface that's wet. They can be applied to an oil contaminated surface. They don't require, extensive prep. So we can come in there and stop a leak. And, that's one of the main things we do around the industry is stopping leaks. And that's something that we can do in the wastewater industry as well. And then going into some more potential within clarifiers, there's a lot of equipment in here, a lot of installation, cost of all these equipment. So what I'm talking to clients, a lot of them are going with coatings for all of this equipment here. I mean, a lot of times you use galvanized steel, but that's going to wear over time as well. So a lot of clients are going to use coatings. They're long lasting. Coating here is going to save you down the line on having to remove equipment, reinstall it. So all you're doing is just protecting your equipment. And one of the main things you want to do with coatings is make sure you're using the right one. There might be some chemicals within that clarifier that some coatings can't handle. There might be some erosion on some of the scraper arms that some coatings don't handle very well. And then you also want to keep in mind to do the installation process correctly, because with coatings, it's all about the installation process and specifying the right product. So if that's not done correctly, then you're wasting your time, you're wasting your money. So what we do here at Belzona Houston is we're always looking into what the problem is going to be, what the problem is, what the environment is, selecting the right coating, and implementing the right procedure. Another specialty, especially for the drive systems of the clarifiers and the pump shafts, we do have a system where we can rebuild worn shafts. So as you can see, this shaft was worn here. And we have a system that you can come in situ without having to remove, which would be an extensive job to remove this drive system of the clarifier, or a lot of times you can't remove the shaft from the pumps. We can come in using a metallic former and using an injectable material. We can rebuild your shaft back to its original profile. The products, this has been done for years and years with success, have a lot of applications like this, simple procedure, quick turnaround on it as well. These are normally done in one day, ready to go the next day. The biggest thing is just making this former the right dimensions. So we work with the clients to get the exact dimensions of the shaft, get that former made, and get out there as quick as we can. Another issue within the wastewater industry at times is there are going to be some chemicals that they have to use for pH control, such as sulfuric acid, chlorine a lot of times too, that are going to be more aggressive towards your metal. So here they went with an upgrade in metallurgy. They went with stainless steel. But they were still having some corrosion due to H2S, sulfuric acid, and bacteria. So they actually had some bacteria that was creating sulfuric acid. There are some, bacteria out there that do that, and they do create some heavy microbial influence corrosion. So in this case, they used a Belzona coating because we are shown to be stable versus MIC, and we can provide a long-lasting corrosion resistance towards that. So whenever you're doing an application with MIC, one of the things you want to keep in mind is you want to kill the bacteria first. So the first thing they did here was they used the biocide to kill the bacteria. Once that was done, then it's a normal coating procedure. Do your surface preparation, apply your coats, and then you've eliminated that corrosion mechanism of the MIC, which can be quite aggressive in the wastewater industry. And then finally, there are a lot of movement going on within the wastewater, water moving from place to place. So there's a lot of abrasion and erosion that can happen, especially for an equipment like this. This is a surface aerator rotor. So you can see that this is rotating. So that's a lot of erosion over time, corrosion mechanism. So we have a lot of coatings that can handle that kind of service. This was a test run with a plant. They were, the life cycle of this rotor wasn't what they wanted it to be. So they applied our coating Belzona ceramic epoxy, Belzona 1321. And it, after 6 years, it was still intact and performing well. So they specified it as the coating for any new rotor that they installed. So this is a brand new rotor. They're going to coat it off the bat to avoid having any corrosion down the line. And also there's a lot of solids running through, sludge and solids running through the wastewater. So there can be some more heavy abrasion. As you can see here, the screw conveyor was moving solids and kind of taking a big hit. So more aggressive abrasion resistance system. It's a carbide filled system. It's a little different than your typical coating. It's thick and really is designed for heavy wear. So we use it a lot in like sand applications when there's slurries and sand and really heavy, harsh abrasion. So it's the perfect application for this, really a long-lasting application. This is something they didn't want to have to take out and do maintenance on regularly. They wanted a longer runtime. It was really helped them down the line on their saving on cost. And that's the whole idea. Applying Belzona to increase the runtime, increase the longevity of the equipment. This, for instance, was a new build project. They were putting in some new piping in their old system, and most systems in the industry. Your problem areas are going to be your T's, your bends. That's where you get some cavitation, erosion, corrosion. So they decided to get their 52 bends and 5 T's and apply an erosion, corrosion resistant system. So they're really tackling their problem areas before they became problems. So this is the same coating that we use within pumps. And One of the ways you can save on cost is instead of building a pipe with more corrosion allowance, so a thicker pipe, you can use a thinner pipe and use the Belzona. So that's where you get your corrosion allowance. Or it can even be a replacement for upgraded metallurgy in some cases. So that's where the cost savings really come into play. So here he's doing his inspection for thickness. Like I said, you always got to do the coatings right, from surface preparation to application to inspection for them to work properly. And then that's how you get a good result in your life cycle costs on your equipment. So thanks for joining in. Any questions?